real estate show on a weekly basis.
And then there's a couple other interesting things. Texas did something very interesting with their homestead exemptions that I'm wondering if Florida is going to copy. And if it does, oh my God, that's going to fuel the economy even more with the inflation stuff that we're worried about. So Texas just did something that was very interesting. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
I saw a commercial last night. I was watching TV. I forget what I was watching, but it was a commercial. Some company, the goal is to help you save money on your property taxes. And I'm like, well, how do they do that?
How can you do that?
It must have something to do with, how you're able to petition for a revaluation or petition the property appraiser's office. It must have something to do with that, where maybe they figured out like the mechanics of using that process to lower your taxes. But it was interesting that it was a company advertising that process, and they're like, you only pay if you save, type of thing.
That's interesting. I was thinking that maybe it was more scammy than that, that they were just trying to get people into regular homestead regular exemptions that you could do for free, like those people that do the title check and you pay for the title check.
It could be as simple as that, Joe. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
that's like, oh, you haven't filed your homestead. We're going to help you file your homestead exemption.
And we're going to take a little piece of it.
A little tiny bit. Oh, look how much you're going to save.
You only pay if you save.
But you might be right. And we don't know anything about this company, so we're not talking about a specific company. We're just talking about in general.
It was just interesting that came up. And then you had mentioned something with homesteads. So here's my prediction.
Are you watching like Flip This House or something? Are you watching real estate related?
I mean, I'm always like surfing, right? I actually still have, my cable, right? And so I can do the surfing.
Are you watching like Press Your Luck? Is the demographic for what you're watching like 70, 80?
Press Your Luck.
Or
no whammies, no whammies. Stop.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can't even remember. It might have been during like maybe like a rerun of like a Gold Rush type show. So I think that demographic's probably a little bit older. Yeah.
Interesting. I've never seen an ad like that. And I see lots of like what appear to be predatory type ads, but that's a new one to me.
Yeah. So you just mentioned that with Texas, and it made me think about that commercial because it caught my attention.
Yeah. So it when I watched that, I was like, wow, I wonder if Florida, when we get to it, I wonder if Florida did this, how it would affect our economy. Then I was starting to think, Texas and Florida are like twin sisters right now.
Yeah.
A lot of the political stuff that's happening in Texas is happening in Florida, vice versa. It seems like both states are trying to one up each other about, whatever they feel strongly about.
It's also very similar that there's pockets of political differences, right?
Yes, that's right. Because they have like Austin, and Austin is very liberal and it's a very red state. We've got Broward County. It used to be Broward, Dade, and Palm, but now it's pretty much Broward County. Yeah. Right. So a lot of changes there, but this would be really interesting. I know that homeowners would love this idea if it happens. So we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Here's my prediction. If it's not like generating revenue, then probably not going to hit.
If it's generating revenue
for the state.
Well, this is more about how profitable real estate has been over time, and they're trying to adjust to give homeowners a break for that. So we'll talk about that in a second. Let me do a couple of shout outs real quick. The first shout out I want to give is to Tom and Denise. Tom and Denise were big time fans of our show. We put their house on the market a couple of weeks ago. We got full asking price. Mava had done an open house. This is Hardy Street. Do you remember Hardy Street?
I remember Hardy Street.
In Lantana?
Yeah. Yep.
Really cool, cute little house with, remember the blue, the special paint detail on the front of the house and everything. Well, we didn't have a lot of traffic on that house, but we had a lot of offers, right? Which is kind of weird. So we didn't have a lot of showings, but the people that came made offers. And we actually had 2 offers, and we took full. We took a full list price with a regular buyer. We had a lot of investors, but Tom and Denise decided that the regular buyer had offered just as good as everybody else, and they were going to move forward. They came in, we went into inspection. The inspection didn't go well for the buyers. For whatever reason, we felt that they were being very unrealistic. We went back and forth, and I had to notify them, look, we have an equal price in first position backup written contract right now. So if we don't agree to these terms, we're going to slide right into the other ones. So we're just telling you straight up, you could do whatever you want. You're the buyer. It's your inspection period, but just know we got somebody waiting in the wings, hoping that you walk away.
Right.
The agent didn't believe me, I don't think. She actually laughed derisively at me when I told her that. She thought I was threatening her. I wasn't.
Wait, how's that sound?
Huh?
Yeah,
She went like, like that. Oh, really? Oh, really? You know, that's what she said to me out loud to my face, right on the phone. And I said, look, I'm not trying to beat you up or anything. I'm just trying to tell you where you are so that when you negotiate, you guys know where you are and that you're not blindsided, right? So anyway, they walked away. We got the new buyer in immediately after that. And we just got through the inspection period yesterday. So it's a cash deal. So we're done. And congratulations to Tom and
Congrats.
Denise. And the reason why I'm kind of doing that shout out, because that's not my normal shout out, like the phase that they just passed inspection. But Tom was on pins and needles because the inspection period on contracts ends at 11:59 p.m. on the date of the inspection date. So you don't, did I say that right? 11:59 p.m.
It did,
or
but it made
AM?
me think if you're operating
PM.
like you don't fall back for anybody, what does that do for your contract deadlines?
Well, what I had to tell Tom last night, I go, it's going to be no news is good news, because if they don't say anything, it's over, but it won't happen until midnight. And I go, so unless they send me, and I was talking to him at like 6. So I was like, unless something happens between now and midnight, the deal's ratified and we're moving forward. And I go, so I'm not going to be calling you at 11 o'clock at night unless I get an email. So if I wake up in the morning, nothing's in my inbox, just assume that we're okay. So I know that Tom listens. So Tom, you're okay. That's right.
You're okay. This was last night.
Yeah,
Nice.
this all happened last night. So you're in good shape, and we're moving forward. We'll be closing on time. Everything's great.
Awesome.
Can I ask you just a detail on that one? I know you're doing shout outs, but like just if it comes to, let's say they sent you an email at 11:50 and they've asked for something, what's the obligation of the seller at that point?
I don't know, because I'm not going to, I've never had that. And I was thinking about that. What happens, because we can't respond at 11:50 at night. So I don't know what would have happened with that, Mike. I really don't know. And I'm learning a lot. You know, I've been doing this a long time, but the last week I've been going, I'm not going to get into it today, but when the smoke clears, I have so many stories that Mike and I can share about a seller buyer situation. Total crazy town.
A snowflake, as we might say.
Every case
is unique.
is,
Yeah.
But I'm learning so much about legal stuff that I never learned before, and about title conditions and all kinds of things. It's very interesting. So when we get through the whole thing, it'll be fun. Can't give them a full shout out yet, but to the couple that is the seller buyer, they just got into a contract for their buy side, and everything's looking good on their inspection. So everything's going forward good there. Also wanted to give a shout out. Do you mind?
Sure, go right ahead.
I'm so excited about this, and I actually get a little bit of tingles, but Jimmy is now going to be a proud owner of a new home in October. He's got a new construction home under contract. Congratulations, dude.
Thank you very much. And obviously with your help, with Mike's help, with the whole team's help, I was able to do Johnny's help. I mean, you know, you may not seem like it, but you know, being able to talk and everything and work this out. I mean, this is the biggest thing I've ever done. I mean, I did buy the house that we're in now.
I was like,
but
wait a minute,
it was a
you've
much
been living
different
in a home you own for.
It's a much different situation. This is new. This is going through a different process, and you know, the new construction obviously is different than an existing home. We still have a buyer seller situation in a way here, but
in a way,
there's other, you know, there's other elements involved as far as the down payment is different and all that. So
it's almost like having a baby, Jimmy, because you have new construction, you have a time period before it's ready, right? It's being developed, it's being incubated right now. For,
pretty much.
Well, the funny part,
and I've been able to see the sonogram because we drove by.
That's right. And you're going to be driving by often.
Yes.
Over these coming months, right? He's going to be driving by, checking progress, making sure everything is forming properly, right? That there's no defects, right?
Of course, yeah. And then there'll be times where you'll drive by and you don't notice any difference, and you're like,
what happened?
What's
where
happening?
are these guys?
Crazy
I'm going to come by with like coffee every day for the guys, slipping $100 bills. No, but and then of course Ross, you know, I want to shout out with Right Way Insurance, Juno Beach, because I mean, one of the big things that pushed me to new construction was the homeowners insurance, and the fact that all you got to do is give him, you know, some information, and he can give you a very good estimate as to what it would be. And you know, it gave me the idea. Well, that's a lot of money that I can save
per month,
and I can put it into something new. And then, as you had said, time and time, and Mike has said time and time, and Johnny, that you don't really kind of have to worry about too much maintenance for 10 years, things like that, anything break, so, it's things like that help convince me. Now, that's my situation. May not be yours, but
so
that's my situation. But because of this team, it led me to that decision. And I keep saying me, but it's me and my wife, Carla. So please, I don't.
Let's be real. Her. It's really Carla.
It's
right?
Carla.
It wasn't because I couldn't move forward without her. And once I got her on board, then we were good to go. So because I was already, but going out, seeing new homes, seeing model homes, I was like, wow, this is great. We can do this. We can afford this. You know why I know that? Because Mike gave me a calculator. I could tell that, it was within my, what do we say? Know your numbers.
Yeah.
I knew my numbers.
Can we talk about that calculator for a second?
Absolutely.
So tell me what you liked about that calculator. Cause I use it every day.
Right. Well, Mike set it up for me. So, give him obviously he gets the credit, right? So, and he's got this mortgage calculator with certain things built in, and then you can change it, obviously, like the sale price of the house, the down payment. All right. So you can adjust that.
Taxes.
Right. And the taxes. And then what else that Mike helped us walked us through was portability. And the portability is another thing that makes us massively able for us to do this. Probably the worst sentence I ever said. Let me rephrase that.
Say it again.
The fact that learning that, how the portability works was able to say, oh, okay, well, the taxes aren't going to be this. It's actually going to be this. It's just like the homeowner's insurance, right? It's not it's not going to be this, and so it gives you it helps you know what the numbers are. Again, we keep going back to that, and that's what's important. So, again, shout out. So the calculator gives you that. You can enter in those numbers, and then Mike's even got it built in with estimated closing costs. So you know what you need there, right? Another aspect that I never saw on any other calculator, and so far everything matched right up and to about where we're going to be at.
So Mike, what happens when the interest rates change? Because the calculator, I have the app, but I have different files for each person. And the reason why that happens, and I don't just have one calculator app. I have a specific calculator for each person that I'm working with. Explain the theory behind that. Like, what are you doing behind the scenes that would make Jane's calculator different than Jimmy's calculator, different than John's calculator?
So it definitely takes some setup on an individual client basis. And so like mortgage calculators are out there. That's nothing new, right? They haven't reinvented the wheel on that. And the idea is to know your numbers. But the app that I have that is very helpful for real estate agents and the buyers themselves is that you can plug in numbers on an individual home. Some of the numbers are specific to the home, and some of the numbers, like the interest rate or the anticipated insurance, are specific to the buyer, right? And so those numbers are really as accurate as they can be, both from a payment perspective and also from a closing cost perspective. It's specific to the county you're buying in. Now, Jimothy's is going to be a little bit skewed because he's doing new construction. New construction builders will shift some traditional buy side closing costs or seller side closing costs to the buyer side. To the buyer. So, you rely on them to kind of give you an idea, and we can like adjust things as the time approaches for him. But the interest rate is estimated, but it's also specific to your scenario. So Jimothy,
do you have to update it, or does it change?
No,
the algorithm?
I updated.
Okay, so change Tom's.
Okay,
because I think he's a little too low.
I have to look at it. But Tom might be in the down payment assistance program. He might be.
He is.
Yeah. So those ones are a lot more static than the general market. But credit scores are important. Loan to value is important for determining whether you're going to is a primary. So occupancy, primary investment property, all those things are important to what is the rate going to be for you.
One of the things that we did recently, it's such a good tool for a realtor to have, like with the buyer.
Well, that's the other part of it.
We were working with a couple that was really at the upper limits of their budget of what they were looking for. So there was just nothing because the inventory is just so low right now. And so we really were scraping the bottom of the barrel just to try to find out if there was anything that would work for them. And they had deadlines, personal deadlines. It's a lot of pressure. So
and this was kind of the opposite of, I'd say, like Jimothy's scenario. Jimothy and Carla like the number they qualify for was
way more,
quite a bit higher than
yeah.
the number that they budgeted for themselves, right? And like he's talking about what's our property taxes, what's it actually going to be in the future, right? With their homestead, with their portability, because they're very conscious of like, here's where we want to be from a payment. Like we just, this is our number.
Exactly.
And this couple Jim's talking about had the same thing, but their number was much higher than what they qualified for a number of reasons. But they knew that they could afford this payment, but they just weren't getting there from a qualifying perspective. And so go ahead, Jim.
So what happened was we started looking at houses that were above their budget, if you can, but that were on the market for a long period of time. And then we were punching in all the information for that house and then saying, well, what happens if we bought it for this price? And then we'd see what the closing costs and down payment were. Oh, that's not going to work. We're still $211 over monthly budget. Yeah. Then we go, well, what happens if we bought it for this price and lowered the price again? Oh, we're now down $150 a month.
What if we tweak the down payment a little bit, or what if we, just
and then
the same thing on the closing costs.
Yeah,
like
and then,
our dollars are limited. So what if we need a seller concession? How much will we have to get?
And that was another thing besides, so you could go down and say, okay, in order to buy this house with this tax bill and this HOA, and based on estimated insurance and everything, we would need then to come down to this price. Or what we could do is we could add 5% more on the down payment and offer a different price, and we get to where we need to be, like increase the down payment to reduce the price too, right? And there's so much flexibility with that, and it's really a great tool to know your numbers, and that way you can really negotiate at the highest level, in my opinion.
And so I've been doing that type of analysis for years and years, right? And so so Jim and I would have just a very active conversation on these people that were, tight for whatever reason. Like, is this going to work? Well, what if we do this? And I was, so you'd run all these scenarios and you do it over a period of, probably hours or days even, right? And so now the app gives the real estate agent the ability to kind of do this stuff on the fly, maybe even while they're at the house looking at it.
I don't have to worry if Mike's around or not.
Yeah.
Because his app will automatically issue the approval based on the information I put in or reject it. So it just won't allow you to print anything if it doesn't work. If it doesn't meet the stuff Mike put in, they're not printing it. And the other thing I love about that, there's a lot of lazy or not available loan originators or something for buyers. So they give you a letter saying you're good for X amount of dollars. Let's just make it up, $600,000, right?
Yes.
But now you're turning an offer of $550 to something.
Yes.
Right? Now you got a $600,000 approval. I hate that as a buyer's agent, right? I don't want to do that. I don't want them to know what our limits are. I want them to know that we can afford with the offer that we're turning in. Right. There's a difference there.
And there's still a ton of that out there. I mean, it's like I had an agent, Jim, just this week. They've got buyers, and she says, well, what are they approved for? I said, don't worry. Listen, I'm going to connect you to this. They're connected. I'm going to connect you as an agent. You're going to love it. And then she gets in the app and she comes back and she says, so what are they pre-approved for? Right. Like she wasn't familiar with operating on, hey, you're qualified for a payment versus here's your generic pre-approval at, $600,000. And so I kind of had to explain it. And she was a little bit leery of it. Right. Because she didn't get it. She's like, and I think, and it makes sense. Like from an agent perspective, if I tell you, Jim, hey, they're qualified for $3,500 a month, you're like, you have an idea of where that puts you. But
no, I don't. It's actually crazy when you do that. I talk to Mike about it all the time. I love you, Mike, but it drives you crazy. Don't tell me the monthly
it doesn't mean
payment.
anything. Right? It doesn't mean anything to me. But I'm like, but it does. It's everything. It's everything.
But to the wonk guy, right, that does mortgages all day, he knows exactly what that means. But to me, that's just like, tell me a number.
Yeah. So agents want to know, like, I have to set up a search and I have to set up an upper limit of kind of the price point that they should be looking at. And so I do have to like constantly remind myself, agents need to know, okay, up to 600,000, right? But is it really 600? I was like, no, put it up to 650, then use my app to make sure that because you could get one at the higher end if the taxes are low, right? The existing taxes, if there's no HOA. So
portability, like Jimothy mentioned, right?
So we can't use that in the qualifying, Jimothy is more about like information for the future, but
gotcha.
qualifying, right?
And it really works well for that, because you don't have to have I don't have that conversation with Mike anymore about what he could afford. The app tells me automatically as soon as I open it up, and then I can tweak it based on that specific snowflake house.
So that's why you made the app, huh? So you don't have to have those conversations anymore.
Yeah,
I can't take credit for that. That's why I have access to it.
Well, I want to. Do you want to wrap up on that?
I was going to say, I actually do have a tool that I did invent that I used to use I called it my shopping tool.
Oh, that's right.
And it was like this
graph.
I invented that. Yeah, okay. I made that. It was like this graph.
You used it, Johnny.
I'll show it. I'll show it to you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you haven't seen it, but
yeah,
that one was also a little bit like wonky for the lay person to use, although it really was intuitive and made sense. I thought some people just can't. They look at stuff like that and they're like, what?
Some of the buyers that we're working with use that app and understand it really, really well.
Yeah.
Like the ones that are at the upper limit, and they know exactly how to use that app like me to figure out, hey, we could offer $576,000 on this house. That's it. Right. That's it. That's what we could offer. Just wanted to wrap up with Jimmy though, because we kind of got off track.
That's right.
So you picked new construction because of reduction of homeowners insurance. I mean, some of the reasons: homeowners insurance and your tax portability, which you would get in a resale anyway.
Yeah, yes.
But those two things really help reduce your monthly mortgage payment, which is what you're most concerned about.
Well, in that particular situation, between that and also you got, getting the reaffirmation that, we don't really have to worry about a water heater or a roof and things like that. Like you're starting
long-term
new
maintenance,
and you got, some time. It doesn't mean that you obviously don't have upkeep with a house. You have upkeep with any house, but that was another good
all the big tickets,
point.
and you're not going to have to worry. Most probably, I'm not going to wood here that the insurance company is going to come knocking on your door and saying you need to do stuff to your house. Your house, you don't have to worry about that for a long time.
No HOA, but I wouldn't have gotten HOA.
Yeah, you wouldn't have done HOA.
Well. But, so those are pretty much is what convinced me more towards new construction.
Well, congratulations for getting in contract, Jimmy. I'm so happy for you. He's so happy, and now Jimmy is going to become a seller buyer, right? We got the buyer end. We got the buyer end. Now it's going to be seller, and I've got to land that sale within the time frame of when that developer is going to be finished with the house, so I don't make Jimothy homeless.
Right.
So we're going to see live on the show exactly what we talk about all the time. So if one day you see me on the show and I have a black eye, because you know that I made him homeless.
Yeah. Carla got a little too close.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, I don't know if you mind me saying this, Mike, and if you do, I'll dump it. And I just want everybody to know, I got all of this help, all of this information, and more than likely, Mike's not even going to get my business.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's free advice, free help right here at Florida Talk Real Estate. These guys will work for you as a team, regardless of whether they even get your business or not. I mean, that's just, and I hope that, again, if you want me, I'll give her that. But
no, you don't have to. That's great endorsement.
To me, that is just unbelievable. This is twice now for Mike too. He helped me with another when I was looking
when we
to
talked
do that
about
other
the refi versus you just wanted to tap into your equity a little bit.
Yep. And I ended up getting a HELOC because that was a better situation for me. And Mike didn't get that business either, but he's the one that walked me through this. He walked me through this part now with this new construction.
Well,
gave me the mortgage calculator, and he's not even going to get my business. And Mike, I can't thank you enough for that. I'm overwhelmed with gratitude.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I don't mind doing that at all, especially for somebody as close as we are, right? Like we've been, doing this thing for 7-8 years now, and so the way I look at it, I've spent probably a total of an hour and a half, maybe, like talking to you about it and kind of looking at things and everything. So it's not like a huge time suck.
I don't know. We were on the phone that one day for a good hour.
Oh, yeah, maybe, but it feels like it, whatever. I don't keep track of it. And the reason that he's probably going to be using the other lenders because they incentivize you with new construction to do that, right? And it's very, very common both in new construction communities and what Jimothy is doing, where you're actually having them build it over a length of time. They have relationships with lenders, and they're able to incentivize buyers to use their preferred lender, and they do that with cash, essentially, either cash towards features or closing costs or credits.
In this particular case, it's actually the builder, not the loan people. It's the builder that gives the incentive and
so the builders
cash for closing costs.
Yeah, they're saying use our preferred service providers, and we will give you a credit, right? X amount of dollars. And so it's hard to compete with that when I don't have that relationship with
we're
the
going
builder.
to talk about that later, because Jimothy and I went over the contract yesterday, and Jimothy actually hired an attorney to go over the contract, and the stuff that I kind of found that was not traditional in a normal resale deal. I picked on a couple things, and the attorney pointed out to Jimmy too. So there were a couple of things that aren't customary, like when you're buying or selling a home in a resale situation. So we're going to talk about that later, Mike. Maybe not today.
Sure.
Because what I'm really wondering is some of the costs that Jimmy is going to pay for, and this is very normal for new construction. It isn't this particular developer or anything, but they're asking him to pay for certain costs that normally are borne by the seller.
Yes.
So what I'm wondering is the discounts the developer is giving, after you start paying some of those other costs, the discount isn't really what you would normally, it isn't the same.
But except that they, like, the lending choice doesn't impact those closing costs. Right. So their contracts, but it doesn't matter how you're doing your financing, like whether you use their preferred service providers or you use some people that you select, those closing costs are still shifted to the buyer on their contract.
But the bottom line is, though, when you're buying new construction with that term, it's costing you more than if you were buying a resale somewhere else, probably.
That's right.
So I'd like to crunch those numbers just to see what the difference. My guess is that a $10,000 credit is really going to turn into about $6,000 as a positive credit.
So I don't want to conflate the two things, because you could not get that $10,000 credit and still be paying those closing costs.
Well, that's true.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So to me, those are separate things.
True.
That's the option.
You were saying that.
That's exactly what I.
Because you're not going to be able to negotiate unless you were. That would be a feat if you were.
We already found out. We can't.
Right. So it doesn't matter who he chooses for his lender, who he chooses for title. He's still going to pay those closing costs. So to me, they're separate. But if you're saying, like, what's the cost of buying with the builder versus buying resale, then it's thousands of dollars. It's between 3,000 and 4,000.
Yeah,
so
that's
a good
what
number.
I think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Okay, let's, Johnny, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and take a break. On the flip side, we got so much to talk about, so who knows? We're going to talk about everything.
So I'm going to give you a .com here. It's your one-stop real estate shop, and I want you to know it, use it, love it, and share it. Jimothy mentioned all the help he got from Mike, and he's not even going to end up using Mike as his loan originator on his purchase of his new construction.
Well, he might.
Well, okay, probably not. Mike has probably told him why he shouldn't. I've had the same experience. You mentioned getting a HELOC. Mike couldn't get the HELOC, but he told you it's your best option.
Right.
What this team does best is care. They're pros. They're amazing at what they do, but they care about your outcome, which is why Jimothy and I have been here for 11 plus years every Saturday. Yeah, we get paid to be here, but the team delivers time in and time out with caring. It's about community building relationships. Maybe you don't get the business right now, but you know that you're going to be sharing the information, helping people out every step of the way. That's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. That's what Jim and this team have built over these years. A team of pros, caring about your outcome, making sure that everything they can do and everything they can control is in your best interest. That sounds good to you? Know it, use it, love it, and share it. It's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. 4 minutes from now, we're back at it. Thanks for being with us every Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
What's a Real Radio podcast? It's Real Radio on demand. Find your favorite show at realradio921.com.
From the Gordon and Partners Weather Center. Have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm meteorologist Jennifer Collins with CBS 12 News. Hot and humid today. We'll see scattered showers and thunderstorms through the early afternoon with potential for heavy rainfall and frequent lightning. Then partly cloudy, muggy again tonight with the lows in the 70s by Sunday morning with a chance for more storms into the afternoon.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Shop the best deals of the summer now at Lowe's. Save big on select patio furniture and accessories with up to 50% off. Lowe's knows July 4 savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. Offer valid through 6/28. Selection varies by location while supplies last.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation, because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is Real Radio 92.1 and 101.7. Real talk for the Palm Beaches and the Treasure Coast. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
We are live on this Saturday, and you can dial us up at 877-927-6969. It's toll free. You want to jump into the conversation? You got questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate? Don't be shy. Jimothy, our producer extraordinaire, he'll line you up, make the call. We'll take that call. How are you, my brother?
Doing mighty fine. Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning, my friend. Johnny C., that is me, your air traffic control. Mike Rauch, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. He's with us on a Saturday.
Yes,
nice
sir.
To see you.
Back in the house. Good to see you, brother.
Always great to have you with us. Of course, you can live stream with us. We're on Facebook and YouTube. Florida Talk Real Estate on both, live streaming on a Saturday. And, of course, always remember Florida Talk Real Estate is .com. Our fearless leader for 11 plus years has been Jim DePola. I've told you he runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Keller Williams Innovations. You find the Florida Home Pros team. Jimmy D, how you be?
Hey, I'm doing well. Nice sunny. I think it's sunny.
It is so far.
South Florida day, and I'm going to be out showing property today, so that'll be a good thing. Man, last week
it was 80 this morning when I set foot.
I was going to say it's been hot.
It was 80.
Listen to what happened last week. When I woke up this morning to come to the show, I get in my car and I noticed that the tire is low. Right, it's a brand new car. Right?
I thought you were going to say the tires melted.
No, the tire. Yeah, exactly. So the tire was low. I had a flat tire. I'm like, I'm like, well, the tire doesn't look too bad, so I'm just going to drive to the studio because I don't want to be late for the show. So I do the show.
Doesn't your car tell you what the pressure is?
Yeah.
What was it at?
It was at like 23. It was supposed to be 39 or something like that.
Right.
So luckily I have a little air compressor in the back of my trunk. If I need it, I could fill it up. I found the problem. There was a nail in the sidewall, so I knew I was going to have to replace it.
Oh.
So, but I had to show like 6 properties right after the show, and I had to be in 2 counties to showing 6 properties or whatever. So I decided to wing it with the nail in my tire, and I went to all these places, and I get done at 4 or something, and then I go to the dealership because I have a warranty for the tire to get it replaced. And I go there, and it's storming really bad. And it was raining all day, all last Saturday, so it was very wet when I was showing properties. I get to the dealership, the storm is right over us. They got the tire off the car. They're dealing with the alignment or balancing on the machine, and all of a sudden, this gigantic lightning strike hits the building, fries out the machine. Couldn't get my car off the lift. It was stuck there with the tire off. Couldn't get the car off the lift. They come back to me, and it's like 4:50, and the place is closing at 5:00, and they're like, "I don't got good news for you." And they said, "We can't get your car off the lift, and we're going to be closing in 10 minutes.
My God.
So I look at him, I was like, "Well, get me a loaner. I'll just take a loaner. I'll deal with this tomorrow." No loaner.
No loaner. They got a whole lot full of cars.
I know, no loaner. I was pretty upset. I had just gotten this car because the other car was in the shop for 5 months because they couldn't get a part for supply chain issues. Right.
What kind of, you say you had a nail in the sidewall, so you had to replace the tire?
Yeah.
Just
when
one
it's
tire?
in the sidewall, I guess you can't.
Yeah. No, you can't.
So
why don't they have a generator at this dealership?
They did
no option.
Uber. I had groceries in the car because I got groceries on the way to get the tire. Yeah, I know, right? So I had to take my groceries, everything, go to Uber, drive, get home, take an Uber back.
What do you get, a ladder to get up into the car to get the groceries out?
I know, right?
Don't they have a bleeder screw?
Actually, we opened up the door and it was high, and we had to pull everything out. It was crazy too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to think of jokes of why you would have a compressor in your
What
car.
are the why you wouldn't have like one of those tire flat
No,
things.
why you would. I know why I would.
Yeah.
Do you have a friend that you blow up from time to time?
No. I used to have
That's
a wife. I used to have a wife who would collect nails like magnets. That's why. Yeah. So I got 2 of those things and put them each of our cars and said that way we don't have to deal with it.
They sell the portable compressors and also portable jumper cables. Which are both pretty handy to have. Yeah. Good. Like if you have kids, those are both good things to have, emergency.
So hopefully the weather will be a lot better today. I still don't have my tire aligned and balanced yet. I've already put like 400 miles on it last week, right? Over the last week, I've already put 400 miles with the no balance and alignment yet. So I got to go back there today.
Did they allow you to just do the one tire? I guess maybe because it's newer.
I don't know.
Usually you do 2, right?
They told me I was supposed to come back the next day, but I'm busy.
Yeah.
It's like I can't come back the next day.
It's also risky. Every time you go there, you leave without something.
I know.
When I hear dealership, I'm always like, man, we have friends that put a joke specialized tire valve cap on one of my wife's tires. It's a little
a joke cap.
It's Frank and Beans.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, Frank and Beans.
On the tire valve.
Twigs and berries.
Yeah, twigs and berries. Yeah. It's hilarious. And, so there it sits. And my wife goes and gets the oil change at the dealership, right? Oil change, tire rotation, alignment, right? I'm like, well, here's the thing. Unless they swapped the tire valve, they did not rotate these tires because it's in the same position what it was in.
Okay.
And I'm like, just give me the receipt. I'll call them. She's like, no, don't do it. I'm like, no. Clearly, like the service manager needs to know if they're supposed to rotate tires and do an alignment, it didn't happen. Or they were nice enough to be like, oh, I guess they want this specialized valve on this tire. Clearly, that didn't happen. Right?
No. Good.
Interesting. Interesting.
She's like, no, don't do it. I'm like, all right, fine. We'll just get hosed. Fine. That's fine.
No, but the rotation's free, Johnny. It's probably part of the service,
yeah, but
right?
You got to align it. Did it get aligned? Probably not.
Yikes.
Well, I wanted.
That was at a dealership or at a service center?
Dealership.
Yeah, dealership. That's a 4-letter word.
Yeah. I pulled the stick to see if they changed the oil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it looked newish.
Fresh?
It looked newish.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. But Jim, to your weather question, I just looked as predicted, I see rain every day.
Yeah, I
for
know,
the
right?
coming
For the
week.
next year,
3 months,
Right.
For the next El Nino.
At least it's gonna blow through. You'll have 10 minutes of torrential rain, and then sun will come out again.
Yeah, look at that, right at 2:00 too.
Yeah.
Normal time.
Wanted to finish up with a little bit of shout outs that we were doing on the last segment, which is Wellington, the town or village of Wellington. I should say village of Wellington.
Yes.
The village of Wellington has ranked number 8 in Fortune magazine's top 50 best places to live for families in the whole country. Remember we were talking about the analysis that the last survey that we were talking about, we were wondering how they broke down. Oh, the most fun states to live in.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
or the most fun states
I
to
wasn't
be
here
in.
for
You
that.
weren't here for that.
What was number 1?
California, we were number 2.
California's the number 1 fun
Hey, Mike,
state?
you want to know? Listen to the show from last week.
I was out of town.
You can find it on
I
YouTube.
know.
pick it up.
Yeah.
Wait, I could have done it in my iHeart.
Yeah, your iHeart app, and you could have listened to it, or Facebook, or YouTube.
But there's some oddballs in there, like Michigan.
Yeah,
because of the golf course.
Why was California? I can't imagine why California is the number 1 fun state.
Oh man, it was so many criteria that they're going. I don't want to get into it, but this criteria for the top 50. Sorry, Mike, I know I'm blowing you off here.
No, that's fine.
The top 50 best places for families to live in the country. You know how many criteria they used to analyze this study?
How many?
200,000 criteria points. Not joking.
Sounds like a job for
200,000
AI.
criteria points. Some people have too much time on their hands.
I couldn't.
How
come up
long
with
does it take you to
200,000
figure 200? Let me see.
Tim, the AI can knock that out in a second.
Fortune reviewed more than 200,000 unique data points across 5 broad categories: education, aging resources, general wellness, financial health, and livability. Also, racial, socioeconomic, religious, and ethnic diversity.
Livability.
Livability. Oh, yeah. Livability is like that.
The ability to live.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, the difference between having lead water in your Detroit home.
Okay.
Right. That would be a bad livability thing. Right.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so
proximity to Royal Palm.
Wellington came 8 in the country, which,
that's pretty damn good.
Which is pretty amazing. And, kind of interesting. I found a little factoid I didn't know. Wellington was only a town or a village, was incorporated in 1995. It was one of our newer cities in the county, but they actually started building out there unincorporated in 1951.
Oh.
And the reason why they named Wellington was after the guy who bought the tracks in 1951 to start building stuff out there, mostly for farming, not equestrian at the beginning.
No.
And his name was Charles Wellington. I didn't know that. I didn't know how Wellington got formed. So, I mean, it isn't unusual. I mean, Fort Lauderdale is based on the guy Lauderdale, and Boynton there was a famous military guy, Nathan Boynton, if I'm not mistaken, for Boynton Beach. So,
Nate. Yeah,
Nate. Though, everybody knows Nate, right? So it's kind of interesting. But congratulations, Wellington! You made the top 50 best places to live for families in the country.
Awesome.
And you know what? Wellington is a pretty good city if you think about it. They got a lot of parks. That amphitheater they got out there is really cool.
Yeah.
I was just there yesterday.
Community. Were you?
Yep.
And they have a lot of good community events and everything. Wellington is like a pretty cool area. I used to live there in Wellington. I enjoyed it very much. Yeah. Not too far west, not too far east. A lot of good restaurants, good shopping.
Yep.
Get to the beach pretty quick.
They got a mall.
They have a mall. Well, kind of.
No,
it's kind of, I know, but
it's there.
That mall's kind of, it's getting weaker and weaker, it seems.
Malls are suffering.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just it's a fact of the changing times. It isn't that specific mall, but it's just a change. They're trying.
They got a hot sauce store in the mall at the Wellington.
Do they?
Mall?
No, I didn't. They didn't have it when I was there. Yeah.
We went there. We went there and dropped like $80. We're walking by and my wife goes, "Oh, there's a hot sauce store." I was like,
"Wait,
well,
what?"
Mike's, I don't know.
We just ordered from them too. It landed yesterday.
I don't know if it's still the way, but Mike's son used to love anything super, super hot. So he used to eat those death chips that he would order them online.
One chip challenge.
And the one chip, and he would get the one chip, and he would just eat the one thing.
Those are fun.
Yeah, he was pretty hardcore.
He actually hasn't done a lot of that, like specialized like that. So he'll, still eat
They have the world's hottest popcorn there. My little girl had to get it.
Oh yeah,
it's a hot sweet. It's like a caramel note to it, but man, it is
spicy.
Yeah, oh yeah,
yeah.
After about 5, 6,
I can't handle hot like I used to be able to. I don't know. Maybe it's part of my overall.
I'll bring some in for you next Saturday.
You're already too hot.
So
yeah.
for the next 6 minutes or so before the break, let's just envision something.
Okay.
Imagine our area without landlords, no rentals, right? Not allowed.
Everybody owns.
What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen to the economy? And the reason why I'm bringing this up, in the Netherlands in January of 2022, they were concerned about how many investors were coming in, buying up properties and creating problems for regular buyers, homeowners that just want a place to live, that they outlawed landlords in January 2022. And the ban is still in effect right now. And they've just done an economic study to see what the effects in the Netherlands happen with not allowing rentals in their area. So what do you think happened? I thought that's kind of interesting, right?
I mean, you have to have there has to be people who don't own homes. So therefore, what is the government, the landlord? So to me, that seems like a disaster.
Yeah, I don't understand how you get there. How do you get over that? Because that initial crossing of the bridge to get everybody into home ownership, to eliminate the landlords. How do you do that?
How do you even eliminate a landlord?
They say
just put in a management.
Well, you're not allowed to rent.
You
could buy the house, but you're banned from renting.
What about people that need short-term housing? I mean, that's a weird thing. Like you have to buy a house and like 6 months later sell it and. Like if you have to move for a job or something.
The only rentals that are allowed over there are non-independent landlords. So you can't just be like a regular investor like you or me and buy something and then
government
and then rent it out. So the only thing, I don't know if it means government, but I think more institutional, like where apartment complexes and stuff, that will all be okay.
Okay.
But you can't go buy the house on 123 Main Street and rent it out. You're not allowed to do that. So that's what they banned.
Oh, apartment rentals.
Yeah. So apartment rents are okay, but not like houses. Okay.
Can you sublet?
Don't know. It doesn't get that detail. I'm getting this from Inman News, which is like a real estate industry. I don't want to call it think tank, but like a collector of information across the country about real estate, right? Inman News.
Well, we know that home ownership is like a huge step towards like real financial stability, building wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a tremendous step forward for somebody in your life, right? So
as an investment.
Well, even if to live in it, but as an investment, like I know my financial positioning from my credit through changed at the moment I signed that paperwork, right? Like it just did. There's a footing. You can feel there's a palpable footing positioning you have as a homeowner versus a resident.
Look at Jimothy, right? He's going to sell his home for profit and be able to upgrade, right? You're upgrading
profit.
Yeah.
4 times. I bought it for 60. I'll put the number out there.
Yeah. And he's upgrading his living situation, getting into a comfortable with this would probably be your last home that you're buying.
Maybe it's a very good possibility. Yeah. Depends on how things go in our lives. Obviously that matters too.
But so to Johnny's point, it's definitely a wealth creation vehicle, or has been in the US, probably in
and
other
we
countries.
have other countries that are doing stuff. In fact, this state, right? So in Canada, we mentioned this a couple months ago. Canada has a ban that if you're not a Canadian citizen, you can't buy real estate there right now. They've shut it down.
I love that.
Because of the inventory, because the inventory was so low. They didn't want outsiders coming in and gobbling up properties. Now, we have the same problem here in the United States. It's been chronic, right? Which we're going to get into on the flip side. But
so when the rent is too damn high, you ban it.
But what happened was in Florida, we've created a regulation that Asian, Chinese specifically, investors cannot buy certain type of property in Florida. We haven't talked about this on the show because I don't really think it's going to affect regular deals, because it's more about buying land that's farmland. They're not allowed to buy farmland because
commercial properties.
Commercial properties are properties that are too close to military bases and some other things like that, right? So they're not allowed, but it's specifically to Chinese investors, right? outside investors. So we kind of have a little bit of that here. But one of the biggest problems in the United States, and we've watched this on this show, watched it happen, where all these institutional investors started gobbling up homes after the last crisis.
Yep.
And we're going to talk on the flip side about what happened with these rental things. Did rents go up? Did they go down? What happened to property values? Did they go up? Did they go down when they put this ban in effect? Like, how did it affect the local people? And then the article talked about what would happen if we use those same regulations here in the United States and predict what would happen. And I have news on those institutional investors. Remember all those companies that were buying up all those homes? Thousands and thousands of single-family homes, thousands and thousands of them all over the country.
Yep.
Well, things aren't going so good for them right now.
Really?
So we're going to talk about that on the flip side. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about, after the break, we're going to talk about because none of us were able to wrap our brain around the logistics of how you make it happen. But there were some consequences to what they did there in the Netherlands.
Oh, yeah. They have results of whether property values went up or down, what happened to rental rates, what happened to people that weren't renting. So we're going to talk a little bit about, I thought that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
What would happen if all the landlords, I'm kind of exaggerating here, but if all the landlords disappeared, what would happen? It's kind of weird.
I'm thinking from a practical standpoint, if their financing is anything like ours, there's probably going to be a ton of occupancy fraud happening where you're buying as a primary, but really you're going to be renting, or you do the straw buyer, Jim, where like, I'm really the buyer, but I'm going to use you to qualify for the financing or something. Like just a ton of occupancy fraud.
Yeah.
But okay.
All right, excellent. Well, we got some very interesting information coming. Of course, if you want to be a part of the conversation, don't be shy. You can dial 877-927-6969. You can dial it right now. 4-minute break. We'll get back. You make the call. We'll take the call. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com, your one-stop real estate shop. You have access to the entire team. Pros. These are experts in their field, and they do work cohesively together. Get them all at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, on Facebook as well, YouTube, Florida Talk Real Estate. Lots to consume, but remember the .com, and you got the hotline there as well, 888-973-7828. Find it all, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Back in 4 minutes, Florida Talk Real Estate, right here. It's Real Radio.
Because your pets are pretty lonely when you're gone. Tell your smart device to play Real Radio 92.1 on iHeartRadio.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
From the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Yeah, you can be part of the program. Dial it up, 877-927-6969. If you do dial it up, Jimothy, our producer extraordinaire, is the first voice you're going to hear. Jimothy, my brother from another mother, how are you?
I am doing very good. Thank you, Johnny. How are you today, buddy?
Fantastical. Thank you very much for
Excellent.
caring.
Excellent. Love hearing that.
It's great to have you all with us, including Mike Rauch, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. Nice to have you on a Saturday with us, Mike.
Yeah. Hi.
Always
Great.
good.
Great to be here.
Yeah. And you're on camera, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Facebook.
That's the way we do it. We've been doing it that way for a little while, you know.
We have been live streaming, and hopefully you join us every now and then. Facebook and YouTube, Florida Talk Real Estate on both. Always remember FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Our fearless leader, I've told you for 11 plus years, runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Keller Williams Innovations. You find the Florida Home Pros team, and my guy Jim DePola. Jimmy D, how you be?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. We're gonna just shoot off of where we left off. We were talking about how the Netherlands in January 2022 decided that they were gonna stop independent landlords from buying houses and turning them into rentals. And it's been a year, and somebody did an economic study to find researchers to find out what this Dutch experiment, what would happen with this.
Did they do that nationwide, or was it in a city?
It's kind of weird because it says the Netherlands, and it says, this is what it says. The new research looked at what happened after the Netherlands allowed cities to ban investors from buying homes to rent them out.
Yeah, there you go.
All major cities put in some kind of ban in effect. So it was city by city deciding what to do. But apparently a lot of the large cities decided to go ahead and do it. So
now here's a good trivia question. How many cities can you name in
none
the Netherlands?
No.
You know one.
Reykjavik or something, right?
No, that's Iceland.
Reykjavik?
That's Iceland.
Yeah, so I'm not good at this.
You have one. I know you can think of one city, the most famous one.
But Switzerland?
No, that's a country.
That's a country.
It's Amsterdam.
There we go. Amsterdam.
Yeah, that's like the one.
The one. Can you name another?
Why? Why is it the one?
Well, I thought Jimmy was saying, why do you need another? He said, can you name another? Why? You got in Amsterdam. Why?
This is so bad. I saw a video the other day. The guy's walking around asking people to name the capital of Australia.
Oh,
anybody?
Wait.
Anybody?
I would say.
Is it something Bonn? It says at the end it's BON.
It
Like
starts with a
something.
P.
Not Sydney. It isn't Sydney.
No.
It's Lisbon or
Lisbon.
No, I know it isn't, but isn't something BON at the end? Am I wrong?
I don't remember.
I'll know.
What is the
I
capital?
think it's
Oh, you don't know?
No,
That's-
it's something Bury.
I love when I do that. When I give
it
you
Canberra?
something, I say I don't know the answer
Jeez.
to it.
The problem here's the point is, and it's displayed right here in this room. None of us know. Timothy's looking
We're
it
all
up.
we're all
we don't-
ugly
We
Americans.
just live in Australia. Why are we supposed to know?
I can't.
There
know
was a point, and in sixth grade, I could tell you
The capital of
Sure.
Oh, sure. And their
Oh,
country.
yeah.
But
yeah.
come on, that's the past one test.
Yeah,
Canberra.
exactly.
There we go. I see it.
Canberra.
Canberra's the capital.
Canberra.
Yeah, apparently.
Wow.
It's not
According to
Sydney.
Mr. Google.
I don't know any country where you have to wear magnet shoes to go live there. I don't care.
Magnet shoes.
Yeah.
shoes?
Do you ever look at the globe? You see where Australia is. It's
Oh,
upside
you'll
down.
fall
If you
off.
don't
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
magnet
yeah.
shoes,
Magnet
you're going to
shoes,
fall
you're
off.
screwed. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to live there. That's kind of scary.
The toilets flush backwards.
Yeah.
That's right.
I know this, man. Stream of
Crazy
consciousness. I know
town.
this is way off what we're talking about, but I read this article yesterday. We have removed so much groundwater.
I saw
Did
that.
Did you see this?
It's changing the tilt of our Earth
by like 30-something inches. I think
I
they
didn't
said in
read
the last
that.
couple
Yeah.
of years. Yeah.
Wow.
We've removed so much groundwater, like
Re-
on the
you
whole
mean-
Earth.
yeah, just
pulled it
we-
out, right? That and displaced it. So when we pull it out, it ends up in the oceans. Ocean waters have risen. Like this, we're having this shift of the water and the balance of the Earth, and we're actually kind of speeding it up. We being humans by pulling all the groundwater, which of course we need to, right?
I didn't read the article. I saw the headline
Lake
and right away
Victoria.
my skeptic brain went off saying, I don't think so.
I
don't
think it's
think so.
fascinating. Yeah,
It's just like, you know how much mass is like at the surface of the Earth compared to the rest of Earth? I mean, it's,
Nothing.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. My brain is telling me that.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I read all these things with a real cynical approach,
Right,
where I'm
yeah,
like,
right.
prove it.
Right.
But I thought it was fascinating. I just that they even kind of follow.
Also, like, aren't the clouds redistributing water throughout the Earth constantly?
Sure, it's a
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
Evaporation.
Right,
and yeah,
right.
yeah, it happens constantly. Yes, but we're talking
All
about groundwater and the balance of the Earth, right? So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. So getting
Totally
back
off
to the
base.
rental stuff in
Yeah.
Netherlands, okay? Do you think rents went up or down after they did the independent ban? Do you think the rents went up or down because of it?
Up.
Right? You would
I mean,
think up.
I'm sure the goal was for rents to stabilize or go down.
Right. What do you think?
Flat. I'd say they stayed somewhat flat.
Pretty close to flat. They only went up 4%, right? Over the last year. I mean, that's
Over a year, that's
nothing
still-
compared to what we're experiencing here in our country, right? As far as rent increases, right? Especially South Florida. The other thing that happened though was prices remained flat.
Right.
They didn't go up.
Housing
right?
prices.
Housing prices. So the house sales in the areas where this ban took place, they didn't get higher prices, but the demographics of the neighborhood started changing.
Well, let me ask you: did you anticipate to see a change in that number?
I thought that
didn't
there
connect
would
that.
be higher demand for rent because there's less rental places available, that there would be higher demand for it and that rents would go up. That's what I figured.
Oh,
That
I
makes
expected
sense.
that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I expected that.
But
for
it
the-
didn't. But it didn't go that way. It went up, but not like crazy up. And then the other thing that they saw that happened that they didn't expect was a lot of the younger people in the neighborhoods where the independent rentals were allowed, they all left because they couldn't rent anymore. And so the people that did buy houses that used to be rentals or would be used for rentals were older, more established people, residents coming in.
Oh.
So it's changing the demographics older, it's skewing things older. And also that they found out that these independent landlords have a very positive impact to the community, that they need, that they're an important part of the real estate ecosystem, if you will.
Of course,
And
they're
that they're
providing
an-
housing.
They're providing housing. And what they're saying is it gives the ability for renters to live in places that they normally couldn't afford to buy to live in. So they can live in better neighborhoods. They're paying a higher rent, but they can't afford to buy. So they're in a better neighborhood.
It was like Section 8.
Well, not getting a credit, just that, let's say that you could afford the monthly rent, but you don't, just like what's happening in today's market. There's so many buyers in our market that want to buy. They can afford the mortgage. Mike knows this, but they don't have the down payment and closing costs, and the prices are too high.
Yep.
So they're priced out because they can't afford the down payment and closing
Yeah,
costs.
because many people afford really high rents. They just don't have the money to be able to have a down payment and closing.
Right. So now, even though that they might be willing to pay higher rents to be, let's say, in a single family home in one of these quote neighborhoods that we're talking about with the ban, they're not allowed to do that. So they don't even have the opportunity to live in that neighborhood as a renter. So they're saying that the
So-
independent
so-
landlords serve an important function to the ecosystem.
Real quick though, so they I figured it would be like grandfathered in if you in this city.
It might have been.
I don't understand how the demographics change so quickly. Unless they just said flat out, if you rent in this city, you can't anymore.
Well, let's
And-
just say this. Let's say you were at at a point in time, forget about the grandfather, but you're at a point in time, like you're moving, you're either going to retain your home and rent it to somebody, or you're going to sell it. So those people are saying, well, I guess I got to sell. And so now you're basically only allowing people who can afford to buy the home in. And so those are more, I think it's probably general common sense that the longer you've been around, the more established you are, probably the better your ability to buy a home, I guess. Right. Or maybe you're selling and buying, something like that.
So,
they must have a good handle on what their rental needs are. Because if you're saying we're only allowing rentals in these types of buildings, they must know if they have enough units, right? For their rental needs.
Freddie Mac thought, considered this ban on
investment properties,
independent landlord investment properties, and they said when they did their study, they released a report last year that suggested that investor prices, which have grown in recent years, investor purchases, which have grown, obviously, we're going to talk about these institutional investors that are just gobbling up homes like crazy, weren't the reasons for the unprecedented rise of home prices. They're saying that wasn't the cause, these investors coming in buying these properties. I kind of disagree with it a little bit, because they are competing against regular home time buyers that want to buy a house too. But Freddie Mac said nationally, they didn't really see that happening. It wasn't the reason for the huge price increases we've just seen.
Well,
I think the Fed would agree.
Not the reason, but it's a contributing factor.
Well,
right?
Apparently not much. I'm just telling you what Freddie's saying. So what they're saying is that Freddie found that record low mortgage rates, limited supply of inventory, increased migration, and an increase in first-time home buyers were the main drivers of the price increases that happened, and that institutional or independent landlords weren't a major. Those factors were way more than the fact that landlords are coming in and trying to buy houses in your neighborhood.
I mean, both like low rates, lack of inventory. Like, what more do you need right there?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Those two things.
That's the whole thing. The whole reason why our economy is doing so well in the real estate market with these increases in interest rates is because the inventory. So we're going to get into that in just a second, but let me just switch over to the institutional. I don't want to go too much into this because we spent some time on this segment, but here's the headline in Yahoo Finance. Institutional firms are pulling back from the U.S. housing market. Just look at Starwood's decision to shop 2,000 single-family home rentals. So one of the institutional
to do what
company,
with them?
They're trying to sell 2,000 single-family rentals right now.
Okay.
So there's a lot of companies out there that have been doing this. Invitation Homes is the biggest institutional investor. If I'm not mistaken, I think they're backed by Warren Buffett. I think it's a Berkshire Hathaway thing. Invitation Homes. There's another one called Starwood. There's another one that used to be called IHP. I don't know if it's still around. But
isn't there like a Blackstone?
There was a Blackstone or
Blackwater.
something like Blackwater is the one we were talking about, Jimmy, off air. Blackwater was the other thing.
Ding, ding, ding.
That's the thing we were talking about
Sure,
with the Russian
I
thing.
gotcha, yeah.
Blackstone, I think, Mike, is the one you're talking about.
And we're talking about, like, these are the companies that during the crisis, when housing prices were low, were betting big on housing prices recovering. And so they were scooping up properties in the thousands, right? Thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, right?
Tens of thousands
across
the country.
They were bundling, and they make them buy like some distressed or less than desirable properties in those bundles.
Well,
right?
they've hit the skids. Those companies have hit the skids on purchasing, like Fred Flintstone in his little car and breaking with his feet, right?
They probably did that a while ago. Like, if you could crystal ball, Jim.
It's all within the last year.
Oh,
and
really?
it makes sense. Yeah, in the last year, they said it's a 90% drop compared to a year ago. So even a year ago, they were still pushing hard.
I'm surprised.
So Invitation, that's why.
I'm surprised they were still buying a year ago.
Yeah, me too. And here's the thing: Invitation Homes, last year. I mean, let's see. I'm sorry. Hold on. Blackstone. Okay. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Florida Talk Real Estate is about.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you.
No, it use it. Love it,
just to give you an idea, in 2019, Blackstone bought 822 properties, and they only sold 147 that year. Okay.
2020.
This year, it's the exact opposite. They only bought like 150 and have over 2,000 on the market. Okay. So they're trying to sell them. The thing I think that they're making a mistake on now, I know those guys are way above my pay grade because they're doing it national, but it sounds like they're taking these collection of rental properties and trying to sell them to other investors. Big mistake. Okay. I'm telling you right now, it's the same thing that Zillow and Trulia. I'm giving you some free consultation advice there, big companies.
Can I ask a question real quick though?
Well, wait, let me just
when you have a renter in and you sell, and they have a lease, aren't you kind of stuck selling to an investor?
Well, let me go over that. I'll answer that. But the big mistake that Zillow, Trulia, all those iBuyer programs did when they were doing the iBuyer, they were paying too much money for the houses because they had to compete with retail buyers. And then they could do that because the projections were the prices were still going up because of low inventory. It was cheap money to buy them, right? And they could get really good rent, and rent is in high demand, just like today.
But you're lumping these guys in with like the iBuyer programs?
Yes, and the reason why I'm saying that is the iBuyer programs overreached. And then when they got in trouble, instead of selling at retail, remember we talked about this, I joked about this, instead of selling on the retail market, they went ahead and took it as portfolios of groups of houses and sold them off to other institutional investors. That was a big mistake. They were losing tons of money because why would an institutional investor give you retail value? And you're trying to sell a whole bunch of them. So you're showing kind of weakness in a way. It's like, hey, I don't want all these properties.
They're trying to unload it. So
and
they're going to take a hit.
And they're not giving you the best ones. They're keeping the best ones.
Sure.
So they're giving you the ones that they don't want anymore. It's just like trading baseball cards or something. It's like, these guys aren't any good. I want the good ones.
Just to be devil's advocate, though, didn't you just take second position offer on a home from an investor, cash?
That's second position.
But
equal to the full asking. I mean,
but this is a different type of investor. Like the investor, it isn't really for profit for them. There's this medical thing involved, and it isn't like I understand where you're coming from. It's a good question, but in that case, it isn't germane. But the problem that they're going to have with this, I see, is they're trying to sell off these portfolios. If they just sold them one off, right, they'd probably get 4 to 8% more minimum even after paying a real estate commission, 4 to 8% more than they would get if they bundled them together and try to sell them in a group.
No, but they have bean counters, Jim. They know, like, here's our carrying costs. Here's how much we're gonna make or lose.
So then why did all those iBuyer companies go under? They had bean counters. All those companies went under, Mike. They lost hundreds of millions of dollars, if not a B in front of it. They lost that money.
Well,
that's with all those smart bean counters.
Let's just say that they weren't like Blackstone or Innovation.
Yeah, I don't know if I lump them together. I feel like that's a different, almost path to follow.
I don't agree. I think that we're at a part now with the interest rates being so high and everything, and they don't have cheap money. The prices have gone up so high that the potential upside equity in the future has been gobbled up a lot.
Oh yeah.
And I just don't think we're going to see this stuff. And I think they realize it.
Although we just saw a record median sale price in Palm Beach County.
Right?
Here's
the other thing, Jim. They may need to liquidate for whatever reason, right? Like they need access to this capital for whatever reason.
Purposes.
Possibly. Yeah, sure. Maybe they say we need to pull out, we need to capitalize, and then
they're going into commercial.
Maybe
because commercial is very weak, and that cycle is happening soon, where commercial is going to get very weak. Not all commercial, but certain parts of commercial is going to get weak.
This actually gets into like predicting markets and stuff. We talk about like what's the market doing all the time. This might be like watching the big guys. Like you see that in stock markets, like how you follow the big guys, follow the institutional guys, because they're leading the way. And it's something that, like, so Jimothy's in a spot, and I don't mean to scare you with this, Jimmy. I mean, you probably already thought about it, but like he's got to sell his home. Does he sell now? Does he sell closer to when the new home is almost done? And,
right.
And so the plan is, of course, you don't want to be homeless, right? So you don't want to be rented somewhere. Right. So you wait. But can he sell now for the most that he could get, or is 9 months down the road going to be okay, or 6 months, or whatever it is?
That's what we've been talking about.
You're kind of like, gee, I hope it's going to be okay, but you know,
it's the same thing when you're in the interest rates. I mean, you know, how well can you predict the interest rates?
Yeah.
You know, so maybe they are doing a restructuring, but the thing is that it's very interesting to see this. And frankly, they control so many properties that if they started putting off the stuff they don't want and started putting on the market, I don't think that would reduce prices, like flood the market. And then you don't have the demand for buyers right now to get homes is so strong, even with these high interest rates. Now, we lost a lot of buyers. We lost a lot of buyers because the interest rates just got too high. But the ones that want to buy and they can still afford these 6.5%, there's way more buyers than inventory. We're still at 3 months inventory, guys. Normal is a 6 months inventory. So we're very short. So it's still a strong seller's market. If these institutional guys were smart, they would go ahead and start throwing these houses on the market as regular retail. I'm telling you, they will be gobbled up so fast. And it will start raising prices again. Now, I'm not saying that this is necessarily a thing, but I would see that would happen.
Like, hey, you want to list?
Yeah, you want to list your 2,000 homes? Give them to me. I'll give it 1% for each one because I get 2,000 deals.
See if you can extract the list of a bundle that they're about to package up and say, give it to me individually and let me take care. It could be as simple as, Jim, like they're saying, okay, we're going to make this much profit. We're not going to lose money. We're going to make this much profit and extract the capital if we bundle it, or we're going to make this much profit if we do it individually. Let's just do it now. Let's just get it off the books. We're still making money.
It also could be, as you note all the time, Jim, real estate is neighborhood to neighborhood, street to street. It could be certain pockets, because do they tell you what states they're predominantly dumping? Could be certain areas.
Actually,
out of here. And it might be not only raising of insurance costs, like Mike noted earlier, they know their costs. It also could be they're in a position where they bought these homes and they're like, we have this long until we're getting rid of them because the upkeep,
that's
the
very
maintenance.
That's very common. When we went through that, we went through that boom of all of these companies coming in and starting up during the crash, the plan was 5 to 7 years. That's what they were saying. That's what the company's saying. We're going to keep these houses for 5 to 7 years. We're going to let it appreciate. We're going to make all that money, and then we're going to cash out.
Take their money.
They're not doing it willy-nilly.
But they're seeing something, and I think it is that costs are too expensive, and they are crunching the numbers. They're saying this doesn't make sense. Now, it is our area is probably stronger for them than I would be assuming they're keeping our properties, meaning Florida properties, more than other areas. Because some of the areas that we don't talk about this much, but some of the areas in the country, they're seeing 20% depreciation right now, 30% depreciation.
That's crazy.
Depreciation. Wow. And we're talking about hitting a record here.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So Florida's kind of insulated from this. This is a national
areas
thing.
At least, right? I mean, especially our area.
Yeah.
Let me get back to the renter situation here. So let's just assume these properties, they have like year-long leases on these.
So when you take over
selling to investors?
No, not well.
I mean, it's not.
We have to talk to Mike about FHA or maybe VA, but traditionally, no. What happens is when you buy a property and there's a lease in effect, the seller has to disclose that there's a lease in effect. And if there is an ongoing lease that's in a valid lease that's ongoing, then you have an obligation to give that lease during the inspection period to the buyer to review to make sure that they want to continue to buy the house, because the lease will stay in effect after closing.
Right.
Now, the buyer could go to Mike if he's renting and go, hey, Mike, I know your lease ends in next October, but is there any way that we can get you to move earlier? Because I want to move into the house and this is going to be my primary residence. And maybe I'm just throwing out ideas that we would say to Mike, hey, look, we know we already are holding your last in security here. We'll give you your last, you've kept the house in good shape. We'll give you last security back and we'll give you another month.
Incentivize them.
Yeah, incentivize them to make them leave early. And you're allowed to do that. But
and they could say no.
If they say no, then you're stuck with that lease.
Right.
Now, if it's month to month, the buyer has more leeway to deal with that. They can give them a certain time period to say, hey, in the next X time, I'm not the lawyer and I don't remember it in my head, but you give them 30 or 45 days or maybe 60 days and you say, hey, you've got to leave. And that's legal. So if you're buying it in your FHA, Mike, and there's a lease in effect, can you buy that property? Because you're saying you're a first-time homeowner or a primary residence.
Regardless of the loan type, if you're buying as a primary residence, your obligated to take possession, move in essentially within 60 days of closing on the
60.
home. So basically 2 months, you have to, within 60 days, you got to move in. So if there's a lease, I think Johnny's question is, does the new owner have to honor that lease? And I think the answer to that is yes, but each lease is going to be different. And so there's going to be some sort of provision in there about maybe a change of ownership, maybe like how much notice is required. Can you be forced to move out in the middle of the lease type of thing? So I think the new owners do have to honor the existing lease, but they need to read it carefully to see what their options are. And if they cannot move in within 60 days, then no, you cannot buy it as a primary.
It might be a big reason why, and again, we'll never know because we're not on the inside, but these big groups are, in a position where they try to just package them again to investors because they just got year-long leases and all these, and they're like, wow, we can't. It's hard to onesie-twosie these because
if that was an issue for them, I'm sure they have a style of lease that allows the new owners to vacate, to get them to, what am I trying to say? To vacate them.
See, the part I don't get with them, I feel like they're making a huge mistake like the iBuyer groups did when they just sloughed off the homes they bought because they paid too much for them. I'm not saying that these institutional investors pay too much. I'm not saying that at all. iBuyers had their own problem, right? And when I say iBuyers, I'm not talking about a specific company. I'm just talking about these companies that will give you a blind offer on your property. And they were giving kind of decent prices that didn't make sense. We would say, I don't know how they're making any money on this. And then we found out they weren't.
Oh, they're not.
Well, and it was also very visible because we could see like, hey, they paid this much for it 3 months ago. And now they're selling it for less. So you knew they were losing money on an individual home.
But with these institutional guys, they bought good. I mean, I watched them. They were buying really good prices, and they got a ton of equity over time. Plus, they got all that rental income over time. They did very well. I'm not saying that they're morons that way or anything like that. What I'm really saying, though, is that if they would just turn to the residential market and start selling these to regular people,
they can maximize profit.
They can maximize their profit and because the retail people will give them retail value. But if you're packaging the properties together and you're telling another institutional investor, here, buy these 100 homes for me, or here, buy these 2,000 homes for me, right? How are you going to get the same as a retail buyer? Now, I know it takes longer to go through the process.
There is a reason in the entire history of selling things that you do bulk discounts, Jim. It's because you're going to take your money now, right? It's guaranteed. Take it now. I don't need to worry if I'm going to make this profit over time. I'm going to make it. So it's probably as simple as that. Like bulk discount. Give me my money now.
Yeah. And maybe there's a tax break. When they lost those hundreds of millions of dollars, one of those companies lost one with a B in front of it, like $1 billion, and lost, right? Maybe they take it off as a tax break or something. I wish Jarrett was here from Perry CPA Group because he'd probably be saying to me, no, that is not a good thing. I remember when one of the basketball players from the Heat left after all those championships when LeBron James came. And then all the players started selling their properties and moving. And one of the players, that's how I met Jarrett, basically. One of the players ended up taking like a $4 million loss on the home that they bought. So I called up Jarrett, knowing that he deals with athletes and stuff. I said, Jarrett, as the accountant, is there any benefit of taking that $4 million loss? And that's why they're doing it. Like they just don't care, because that's a lot of money. Right? And he was so adamant. That's when I liked Jarrett. That's when I became
before. You don't like him now?
Well, I didn't know. No, I said that's when I knew that's when I knew I was going to like Jarrett, because he got all passionate. He was like, no, that is not a good thing. There's no tax benefit. He just got screwed.
Well, there is they do have the carryover loss, right? Which you can basically take a loss from 1 year. You can't take all that loss in a single year. Otherwise, you're like negative income, right? So you can offset positive income, but then you stretch that loss out year over year over year over year. We know there's a very prominent, former president who had a carryover loss for years and years, right?
He's a genius on that. Yeah, he was very good on that. Let's go into the stats just real quick, okay? If you don't mind, because we'll go into more detail on this.
Jimmy, are we all right to plow through?
You want to go right through?
Yeah, we're going to plow through.
Okay,
is that okay?
Sounds good. Yep.
So what was surprising, I only looked at these very quickly, and I looked at Broward, Palm Beach, Martin County, St. Lucie County, and Dade County.
Since we're not taking the bottom of the hour break, Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com, your one-stop real estate shop. Know it, use it, love it, share it. Facebook, YouTube. You got the hotline. You can call that anytime you want, 888-973-7828. And we are live on this Saturday. If you want to be a part of the program, we got 30 minutes remaining on this Saturday before the locker room takes over. Dial us up, 877-927-6969. That's 877-927-6969.
Okay, let's go through median sales price for each of the counties, just to give you a quick glimpse of actually what's going on right now. And it's pretty surprising. It's, compared to the last 6 months of what we've seen, this is very interesting stuff, at least in my point of view. Median sales price means, as Johnny mentioned earlier, half the homes sell for more, half the homes sell for less. That's the point, right? So the reason why they use median and not average is that larger sales can really skew the numbers very, very strongly in average sales price. So most people look at the median because it kind of shows what's happening in the market in a little clearer idea. So Broward County, we had last year at this time, the median sales price was $586. This year, a year later, it's $585, a negative 0.2% decline. Okay.
Do you have the all-time number for Broward?
I don't. Okay.
Okay.
I only have for Palm right now.
Okay.
So Palm Beach County, a year ago this year, we were at 615, and this year we're at 622.5. Okay. Now the peak for Palm Beach County was next month, July 2022. And July 2022, we went from 615 to 620. So now we're $2,200 and $2,500 more than the highest median sales price ever recorded in Palm Beach County. Isn't that interesting with our interest rates at this point?
Is that what's that, like a 1%?
It's a 1.2% increase year over year. Okay, so we have a negative 0.2, barely a decrease. We have a 1.2% increase in Palm Beach County. Martin County, 8.1% increase. A year ago, we were at 584, 498. This year, we're at 632. I don't count Martin County, though, and why? There's only 200 sales in Martin County. One big sale or one loss of a big sale from one month to another month can totally change these numbers. So Martin County isn't a good parameter, but that's the snapshot for the county.
Do you have the number of sales for Palm Beach?
Yeah, I'm going to get into that in a second. I just want to go through the median sales price. So median sales price in St. Lucie County, 0% increase year over year. A year ago, we were at 390. We're at 390 now. Even though a year ago, we were probably in, let's see, Mike, June? Oh, no, in June of last year, we were at very close to 7.8%, 7.08% interest rate, which is the highest interest rate we've had in like 11 years. Okay. So now the last county is Miami-Dade County. And we've seen now this is significant. Dade County has had a 7.8% increase. So almost like Martin County. Okay. And it went from 575 last year, this month, to 620 this year. Now that probably is a record because 620 was the highest of all the three counties, Miami-Dade, Broward. Palm Beach, when we hit July, if I'm not mistaken, that 620 was higher than any other county, and it was the highest ever. Okay, so Dade County might have broke a record too at 620. They might have broke their record too. So all these people that the Florida Home Pros have been calling to talk to buyers and saying to buyers, are you ready to buy now? And they kept going, nah, I'm waiting for the market to change. What you're seeing changing is it's getting worse for you. The prices are not going down. You're not seeing what you're hoping. And if the prices do go down, the only reason why the prices are going to go down is because the interest rates are going up. Okay. So,
and until inventory goes up, I don't know that that's a reality.
Exactly. That's not we're watching it in real life. What your opinion is, Johnny? We're watching it in real life, right? Because we have very low inventory, much higher interest rates, but the prices aren't going down. So all these people that have been waiting for 6 months, I've been hearing this since November, actually, of last year. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. It's not getting better for you. You got to sit down and know your numbers instead of trying to divine what's going to happen in the future.
It's been longer than that. I was hearing those when I was grinding phone calls every day. It was very common. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. Foreclosures are coming. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm waiting. Foreclosures are coming. The market's going to shift. And we had low interest rates then.
Yes.
We had low interest rates then.
Yeah, much
It
lower.
doesn't mean that those people are wrong.
What
They just,
people
you
were,
just don't know when,
right?
when
No,
and how much.
Exactly. Not
no,
wrong.
they were
They're
wrong.
just
Unfortunately, they were wrong. And the reason why they were wrong, they were expecting, even with the low interest rates, what everybody said was the prices were too high.
Too high. Can't sustain.
Well, the prices keep going up.
Well, they blamed the interest rates.
Yeah.
Right? They blamed them. Now the interest rates have doubled, and we're still seeing little increases up to 8%, depending on the counties you're looking at.
This market is so fickle. Like the May, here, look at this. Rates in May. There was a dip in rates. I'm looking at the chart. There was a dip in rates from March. So they started going down slightly in April.
It went to 609.
Down flattish in May and then back up in June. But those people who were kind of been shopping the beginning part of the year, when they saw that little dip from March into April, they're like, okay, let's hit the ground. Let's see what's out there. And that's why we see prices. We see that median sales price go up slightly because people who were in the market and waiting for timing, whatever timing they were waiting for, they saw rates dip slightly and they're like, okay, now get out there and buy it. And they ended up buying at the same price, or maybe even a little bit more than they would have otherwise.
And that's going to happen, Mike, when the prices, I'm sorry, when rates start going down a little bit, people are going to jump in because there's so many people that feel that they're just priced out and they're not ready. So when they see the rates go down, they're going to jump into it right away. And immediately the price is going to start going up because we already experienced that last year.
Yeah.
When the rates went super high, then they started coming down. Everybody came into the market. Prices started going up.
What do we need to see? Like 0.25% drops, 0.5% drops?
So here's my philosophy on it, Jim, is if you are a serious house buyer, like this is the time. You've made the determination, like we're going to buy a home when the timing is right? And we're not just waiting for this general, like, oh, I need the market to get better. No, it is, I want to buy in this neighborhood. I know my numbers. I know what I qualify for. I know what my budget is for, like where I want to be. I need to, for the rates and the prices to align so that I end up at a payment that I am comfortable with. And if you're super sharp like that, I don't mind waiting because you can watch it, right? You can watch it. You could say, hey, look, boom, I see it. Here's these couple of houses in this neighborhood with the rates where they're at now are putting me where I need to be. And maybe last month they weren't because maybe it was 1/4 point.
I don't see it happening. So with the Fed clearly trying to control housing more than anything with their rate increases, clearly in this inflationary attack they've been on.
It sure feels that way.
Absolutely. Right. And I know that there's not a direct correlation between the rate you can get to buy a home and what the Fed is setting. I know it's not directly correlated, but clearly there's an effect, right?
Stack those charts on top of each other. Look at the Fed rate. Look at Freddie's rate.
You'll see it.
Stack them on top.
Okay. So with what you're telling us, Jim, I just don't know that people are going to see what they want to see anytime soon because the Fed's going to see and I know this is a snapshot of our counties that we're talking to right now, but if let's just pretend that's a national snapshot, it's not working. They're going to continue to raise rates because it's slowing the market, right? We don't have the inventory. The inventory is the tell-all, but median went up and every county we talked about, it stayed flat in St. Lucie County. It's not a sign that it's working. So the Feds clearly, maybe not as drastically, but they're going to be continuing to raise rates.
But we're local and they are going to be continuing to raise rates. What's the number of sales, Jim, for May?
Okay, so that's the other thing I wanted to mention. We're still kind of weak. We're still weak for the year. Okay, so the average, hold on here.
Timothy just bought new
We're normally seeing, what we normally see like in Palm Beach County, for example, is somewhere between 1,400 and 1,800 is kind of depending on the season and everything. You're looking at 1,400 to 1,800 sales a month for single family home, closed sales, single family home. This year we're at 1,480, which this month for May was 1,460. I have bad eyesight. 1,460, which is kind of on the low end of the average, but not super bad. Remember, 1 month we were at 997.
Yeah, I remember you at 800 something.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, this is super, super low. So right now we're not on fire, but we're not doing bad. Now, a year ago, compared to a year ago, we're still short like 70 homes, right? So they did a little over 1,500 a year ago in May. So it isn't that much.
I was thinking if the total, like the median sales price went up May to May, and if the total sales had dropped like a big number, I would say, okay, well then it's kind of like a fake number, that median price, right? Because the total units was way down.
Exactly.
But you're saying, I mean, they're
it's
almost
kind of on the low end
very
of
close.
average. Yeah.
But they're close to each other.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's a real, I mean, it's a real,
this is real,
a real appreciation.
And then this is what the economist said. I'm going to read you the headline. The headline is, home prices won't fall this year, analysts predict. Now, they're not talking about Florida. I could see in Florida, it's like, oh, yeah, I understand. But this is nationwide, even though we're seeing depreciation in a lot of states, we're seeing depreciation right now.
Because nationally, it's like 400,000 or something is the median, right? Am I wrong?
I think
it's in
so.
that ballpark?
Yeah, I think it's right.
I have no
idea.
idea.
The first number.
Let's see. Let me tell you if it says. Hold on.
Because it hit a record clearly, right?
It's and remember, there's been a lot of experts. This is the funny. We're like, what are the experts predicting? Right? You could find predictions on both sides of it. But I know some very respected experts when they talk about rates, who earlier this year were talking about rates coming down, mortgage rates coming down the second half of this year.
Yes, exactly.
And even at that time, I was like, well, what does the Fed have to do in order to facilitate that? And I think the Fed has to stop raising rates, number one, which they've slowed down, but I think they're still going to bump it a couple times this year. Yep. They're not going to lower them. No indication that they're lowering the rates.
Nor should they.
And again, there's not a direct correlation. And certainly mortgage rates can go the opposite direction of Fed. And I've seen that, especially like in the midst of it. Hey, Fed bumped the rate. Mortgage rates just went down.
Why?
Right?
Yeah,
for a week or two, or whatever it is. But if you stack those two charts, like I said, you will see the trend they follow. Mortgage rates follows what the Fed, up or down, right?
It's like mortgage rates are the caboose of the Fed train, right?
Yeah,
They're
exactly. At the end of the roller coaster, right? Like, you know, but
they can get whipped the hardest.
But in order for us to really come down significantly, I mean, the Fed has to start reducing the rate.
Not happening.
Are they doing that this year? Are they doing it this year?
I hope they don't do it for at least a decade.
And Johnny loves it, right? Because this falls in, he doesn't love it personally, but it falls in line with what he says from the economy standpoint, which is mortgage rates have been too low.
Way too.
Yeah,
right? They have artificially
Johnny's like, let's get back to normal.
Propped up housing prices, right?
Right.
Like, so
it's not my best interest. I'm trying to buy a home.
Right.
Clearly
that would not be.
But from a collective national strength, yes. I don't want the Fed to be lowering anytime soon. Not in my lifetime, please.
So the national
Powell should have you on
the national
dial.
the national
Johnny.
The national economists at the in November, December last year, they were saying they were thinking 3 to 4% appreciation. I was saying no, I'm wrong about that. I'll admit it right now. Unless something happens in the next 6 months, we saw very strong appreciation down here in Florida. But they were predicting 3 to 4% appreciation for the year appreciation for 2023,
right? Normal,
which is kind of normal appreciation, but they made it sound like that was not normal, right? Because they're in a new reality. But then they changed it to say, we think that there's going to be a 4% depreciation across the country. Okay. Now they're saying it's going to be flat. So, and it's only one thing that's given them the confidence that we're not going to see depreciation, even though we're seeing depreciation in other parts of the country. Why are they saying that depreciation isn't going to be a big deal? Inventory. It's all about the inventory, guys.
Sure.
And the reason why we have such low inventory is, what did we call it? The Ice Age? Remember some group called it the Ice Age real estate market?
Yeah.
Where everybody's frozen. Nobody wants to leave their 4% or lower interest rates, so they don't want to sell. The buyers feel the interest rates are too high. Some of them are priced out. Some of them just have the attitude, things got to get better than this, right? And so we're in kind of this weird time that we haven't really seen.
There are people who refinanced, Jim, in the last 2 years who have an interest rate on a 30-year fixed rate loan with a 2 in front of it. 2 point something.
How do you get motivated to walk away from that?
Mike.
Money sitting in equity is very motivating.
Sure. Yeah, that might be one reason.
Yep.
That might be one reason.
Mike,
I know.
Did you hear about we tried to sell that loan for our customers? to a new buyer.
Okay, yeah. How'd
So
that go?
2.5%. Yeah, I wanted to tell you this because he doesn't know.
This is an FHA transferable loan. It can be transferred to a new owner at 2.5%.
2.5% interest rate, and they already used 3 years of the loan, so there's only 27 years left, and you take it with the 27 years. You don't start out at 30 again.
Okay.
So we offered it to the buyer. The buyer said, "Yeah, we're going to use it."
Love
but the mortgage company that he was using, the bank also said, "We'll take over the second." The bank offered it, right? The bank that was going to do the assumable said,
so the existing servicer of the FHA loan, in this case, has to approve the new buyers, right? They're going to basically transfer the responsibility for paying that mortgage to the new people, right? So the mortgage transfers to the new buyers. And that lender has to, because that loan doesn't get paid off. It exists, right? It remains in place.
And that's about half of the purchase price.
Yeah. So they have to approve them for the new loan. And then the buyers, unless they're buying it for that mortgage amount, they basically have to come in with a big chunk of change, right? Because the sellers aren't going to sell them to it at a discount. They're just saying, hey, if you got enough money, you can take over our loan, but we still want to sell it at top dollar. And so where are you getting the rest of this money? So
you either pull it as a huge down payment and you put 50% down because this loan is about 50% of the purchase price.
Or you do some combo first and then you get a second to make up the cash difference, and then you still come in with some down payment.
And the assumable mortgage said, we'll do the second too.
Okay.
Well, they just chose not to. And I had a feeling about this because I think this is where the stranglehold of this assumability is going to be. The other mortgage broker was counting on getting the full loan. Now all of a sudden he's only getting the half loan. He didn't sound happy when we talked about offering the
assumable. You're cutting him out.
He wasn't happy about that.
And he probably can't even do the second.
Right. He could. And guess what? 13%.
Okay.
So the buyer said, what are you saying? Okay, I could get hard money for that, Mike.
I'm saying
I could do that without any background check or anything.
I'm saying okay as in I could see that being a scenario.
It made my head explode. So it made no sense. Why would I take a 50% loan at 13% and have another 50% loan at 2.5% when I could just do the whole thing at 6.5%?
And it's probably like it's a little bit unique situation because why do these people have an FHA loan with like 50% LTV? Right, where their home is worth double what they owe on it on a 3-year-old FHA loan. So why would that be the scenario?
Part of it
we haven't appreciated that much.
Well, we have had appreciate a lot of it.
No, but they put a big down payment to start, and they were in an FHA loan for a reason.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
They had a big down payment when they bought the home. So they're just like they're not the normal FHA buyers, right? They happen to have a very low loan amount compared to the current value of your home because of how they got into the FHA, but it was still a 2.5% FHA loan. So
the thing is that bummed me out very much. I want to use that. I've been talking about this since they changed the assumability law. I finally got my chance.
Can I ask Mike a quick question based on this? Because when we were talking about it, Mike wasn't here. Is there almost an expectation that second loan? So in this scenario, we'll just say it was a $600,000 purchase. They're getting half the loan at 2.5% at $300,000 for 27 years. The other half, right? Is it safe to assume that you're going to get around 10, 13% on the second because of the positioning? Because if something goes sour, that second loan is sitting behind the first loan.
So the question is, what are home equity rates right now? What are home equity loans or home equity line of credit
I don't
rates
know
right
the
now?
answer
And so no, 13's crazy. It's high.
It is high, right?
They're out there. You could find 10. Like I could bring up my credit union's rates right now on home equity loans. And it depends because you could do a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, like 5-year. Like those are all and so the lower the term, the lower the rate. So I could bring up something where the home equity loan's probably 7%.
So just like in your app, you change the numbers you're putting in. And
so I feel like the mortgage broker spiked the deal on that.
But they should. If the prudent if that was me, Jim, I would have said, listen, that sucks. I'm going to lose the business, but I know that my home equity loan rate is going to be terrible, but why don't you walk into your local credit union and see what they think?
Right.
Or like walk into your local bank, like I would do all the time. Right. So if number one, I can't do the home equity line of credit type product, but I would say go find, there's a deal. There's probably something for you that's better than what I'm offering. Right. But the other, the salty loan originator because he would basically be losing everything at that point. We'll say, no, look, this is terrible. Maybe massage things in a way where it looks bad enough where you just take the first loan.
That's what I feel like happened
But
here.
I'll tell you, if your buyer, Jim, was Jimothy, where he's selling his home, he's got a lot of equity, he's got a big down payment. Normally, he would just be doing a conventional loan. If he had enough and not need the second, I mean, that's a great deal.
Well, that's
a
the
great
thing I
deal.
was
He
going to
could
say.
come in,
If
he
you
could
could
put
come
his
in
50%.
cash, and then instead, let's say you could buy the whole thing cash, and there are people at this price point could do it.
Yes.
And then you come in and you find out you can borrow at two.
Yeah.
I know
I
it's
mean,
right.
it's
I'm
awesome.
thinking too, because you can come in and say, "Oh, I don't have to give you an extra 350,000.
It's
I'll
so
just
cheap.
I'll just take a 2.5% loan."
Yep.
That's an awesome deal because you get to keep all that money and you're paying 2.5% on it.
Yeah.
It's almost like free money.
But it is FHA. The MI is 0.8, so it's technically 3.3.
Bastards.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Well,
Less than
borrow
half of
300
today's-
grand at 3.3%.
Well,
or don't.
The reason why I wanted to bring that up,
Or don't.
The reason why I want to bring that up is that we're real on the show. So we were talking about assumability and all the great benefits and everything. And then if it's not working so well, I'm going to tell you, that too. And I'm disappointed. So I wasn't trying to puff it up before about something. It's just like when you got into the real world, I'm like, really?
Yeah,
this
that
is so
that
disappointing.
snowflake looked pretty when it was coming on that side, and when we saw it on the other side, be like, oh,
yeah, it was yellow.
Yeah.
No, it was yellow.
You
on
know,
it.
to your credit, Jim, you have been looking at using that as a benefit
for like 6 years
for selling, right? Because it is a benefit. It's like, hey, wait a second, I got an FHA loan with a super low rate. You could take it over, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. Come buy this house, right? Which is true under the right circumstance. In this case, your buyer, it didn't make sense because they had to borrow the big gap. They had to borrow it.
Yeah.
You need somebody who didn't have to borrow it, and then it's like all day long. Great deal.
Yeah, it would have been pretty crazy.
You know why Mike was drooling?
I wouldn't even be able to do the loan, Johnny. But I drool because of the situation. I'm like, that is awesome.
Yeah, it's ideal, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't get to talk about this. So we're going to talk about it for like 3 minutes because that's about all we got, 3-4 minutes, right?
Yeah, about 4.5.
Okay, so we got time. Listen to this. I haven't even figured all this out, but when I read it, I was like, wow, this is another like big wow moment today. Texas Senate passes new property tax relief bill in order to end political standoff, right? This is a news report coming from Texas, local news station down there. Check this out. For their homestead exemptions, they're changing them around now. Listen to this. You know, we get, Mike, then I didn't get to look it up, so I'm going to sound like I don't know as much as I should know right now, and I'm embarrassed. But homestead exemption, if I'm not mistaken, it's $50,000, right? Just a normal homestead exemption, or is it 25 and 25? I always forget.
Yes,
it's 25, 25.
It's both.
Yeah.
So, so the standard exemption is 50,000, but it's a combo of 25 and 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you're a widow, you can get an exemption if you're retired.
They have additional exemptions on top of the standard homestead.
But ours is 50, right? That's our basic. Texas is moving up to $100,000 homestead exemption. And if you're 65 and over, it's going to go to $110,000. They say it's going to save about $2,600 for homeowners a year, $2,600, and then for regular people, and then older seniors, regular people, and then seniors is $3,000.
That's a lot.
$3,000 a year.
A lot of money for the budget coffers that are going to be missing.
This is
what they're saying is that price appreciations have gone so high in Texas that their property tax rate, if they keep it the same, they can still give back money. It's not a big deal because the property values have increased so much.
How about that?
Okay. I see
how
the math works.
We're in the same boat or better than Texas as far as those numbers, I would assume, because our economy, our real estate economy, Texas has good.
I would think the people that are in Texas would be like, why don't you keep it the same and make it so our power grid doesn't?
I know, right?
How about we build some infrastructure?
I was just reading about that again.
I don't really get it.
We'll keep it.
Unless it works different in Texas, the homestead exemption here protects you against rising home values.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. Right? Like you're having the homestead exemption in place.
It's the
will
tax
cap the amount your home value can increase
it's about
year over year.
It's about giving homeowners money back because
they're getting money elsewhere.
Yeah, they don't need it. They feel like they don't need it, so they're going to give a bigger break. Imagine if that happened in Florida. Imagine in Florida where
I
they
mean, I would love
raise the
Sure.
homestead exemption. I'm wondering if this is going to fuel their little, local inflation, because I don't know if
The numbers
people
don't
are going
make
to get.
sense though. Like Mike just kind of brought. Man, the devil's always in the details.
They
I don't know where they're making the gap up.
because I guess what Jim's saying is they have an expectation for revenue. They're getting that revenue. They're maybe exceeding the revenue from non-homesteaded tax,
and then they can find a way to
property tax. So
to
it's like,
put money
okay,
back
let's
in
put it
people's
back in.
pockets.
They
Okay.
are raising taxes on the business sector.
There it is. There's
So
the
now
gap.
they're making it up.
Okay, some of it, yeah.
That's cool. Hey, I'm
But
all
they
about
feel they
making-
don't need to because the property values are so high that they're in good shape.
I'll just say this: when you have political deadlock and then you're manipulating to solve that deadlock, right? That's the wrong motivation in the first place, right? Like the politicians can't see eye to eye on something, so the compromise is not for the people; it's for the politicians, right? So.
Well, I would love to get Dorothy
Yeah.
Jacks on the air to ask her the question, our property appraiser here in the county who's been on the show, and ask her, is this even are you even hearing inklings on this in the legislature? Because I think they're going to start talking about this.
It could be a good platform to run on, Jim.
I want to plant the seed for our
Not
governor.
me.
For our governor, if he's listening. Why don't you take care of all of us and make Disney pay for it?
Oh, jeez.
Well,
that's a joke, but fascinating. I want to keep following that for sure.
Yeah. By the way, mortgage interest rates, I didn't say it. Mortgage interest rates flat, 6.67. We were at 6.69 last week. We've been flat for 3 weeks in a row.
Nice.
So good.
Well, thank you very much for being with us on a Saturday. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is .com, your one-stop real estate shop. You got pros, experts in their field. You get them all at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Find them on Facebook and YouTube as well. Thank you for being with us. Mike Rauch, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. Please have a great rest of your weekend.
Hey, you too. Everybody enjoy the nice weather, I think.
Please.
Yeah.
Try to.
Yeah.
Jimmy D, Jen DePola with the Florida Home Pros team, Keller Williams Innovations. I hope you have an awesome weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Joyce, for checking in.
And,
I didn't get to say.
Congrats once again, Jimothy. You got Greek and Joe joining for 4 hours of
Sure am, yeah.
sports talk.
Knock out some sports talk.
Beautiful. I'll be listening. Hopefully you will too. You got the locker room coming up next. We'll be back next Saturday. It's 2 hours of infotainment every Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate style right here on Real Radio.